For those of you who don't know me, I joined LPS sort of at the start of the 2019 season, so I've only been with you for about a year and a bit now. I'm an IT tech in my day job, so I'm a bit of a gadget man, and that's kind of what got me into cameras and phones and things like that. Is the sort of the electronic side of it, really, more than anything else. So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about my picture taking from having like a camera phone, if you will, to progressing on to sort of big cameras and things like that. So our story begins back in 2004, actually, when I got my first sort of phone with a camera, which was a Nokia 6610i. Nokia had weird phone names in the States, so I'm not actually sure what it would be called over there, or even if it was over there at all. But that had a 0.1 megapixel camera and 4 megabytes of memory with no memory card. So how could I get pictures off it? I had to MMS them to myself, which I think they cost about £3 each. So consequently, I only have these two pictures from it because it would cost me an absolute fortune otherwise. So, but having that phone, which unfortunately I don't have with me today, I do have a couple of other examples with me here, but having that phone kind of opened my eyes to having a camera with me all the time, even as as rubbish as the quality was. It was like, wow, this is kind of cool, actually. And then we move on to 2005 when I got myself a Sony Ericsson K750, which I still have right here. Now that's not focusing, is it? No. Now this had 2 megapixels, which is still not huge, but it was enough to sort of print 6x4s and them not look awful. So that kind of that, and the other side of it is it had autofocus as well. So that really kind of was the first phone that I took kind of pictures seriously with. It kind of opened me up thinking like, oh wow, this is actually kind of a fun hobby, because I can take pictures and you can actually see what they are. And also it had memory cards, so I didn't have to spend a fortune sending pictures to myself as well. And it even had Bluetooth, so I could send songs and things like that to my friends at school. So that's always fun. So this was the first picture I took with that phone that kind of really wowed me. This is just a tulip in the garden, I think, or something like that. And yeah, I mean, it's not much to look at by today's standards, but at the time I was really like, wow, look at the color in the petals and things like that. And then another picture I want to show you is this one of some dandelions. This is in Violence Park. This was at sort of sunset. And yeah, again, I was kind of blown away by the detail, and even there's a little bit of bokeh there as well. I think if I were to sort of take this picture again, I would probably not center this. I would, move it. These are both in frame. Unfortunately, one drawback to the K750 is that it only has one autofocus point, and that's like in the middle, and it's really, really slow. So I'm kind of amazed that this came out as well as it did. So then in 2006, this is jumping forward a little bit, I took art as a GCSE subject, and as part of that, I had a sort of brief to fill, and that was for photographing kind of the mundane, I think was the theme, or something like that. So I turned to my trusty camera phone for that, and I thought, I wonder who else is taking pictures of things. So I turned to the internet for my resources and searching things like that. And obviously 2006, I think Facebook was sort of nascent. Instagram wasn't a thing yet, but Flickr was kind of the big kid on the block at the time. So I joined up and got myself a Flickr account, so just to see what else people have been taking with my little phone. And I came across this fellow called David Helan. I think is how you pronounce his name. And through him, I found the K750i users group, which was full of photographs that people took with this little phone. And it's kind of amazing. So just a couple of pictures to show you here. This is called Bad Dream. I really like the kind of contrasty colors, kind of grungy darks, and the really kind of blown out bright highlights there. Another one, Escape from Darkness. Now, this is funny because I dragged this from my art folder. I looked back and just got it. So I haven't edited any of these images. But looking at this now through a sort of more critical lens, after having been with the club for a year, I would probably clone these out. And I'm also not entirely sure what this is. I'm not sure if it's a looking at a wall or the floor or what. But that's another one that I kind of like, just the kind of the light shafts kind of there. And maybe it could be a grating or something like that. I'm not sure. And then this one, Metro Capitalino, again, kind of grungy. And this is probably more due to the noise from the tiny little sensor. This is probably about the size of somebody's fingernail, more than any kind of artistic license. But I kind of like the yellows and the reds here, and just how it kind of melds together. This one, again, I kind of like how the leading lines bring you towards the window, and then you've got this dark figure kind of breaking up all the brightness. So yeah, what do all these pictures kind of have in common? They're all quite contrasty, they're all kind of grungy, and they're all kind of boring as well. But I think that just the kind of the look of the K750 makes the pictures kind of what they are. It kind of just the sort of the noisy, grainy feel. It seems to be coming back a lot. Like you see kind of retro filters and things like that, and people adding grain to their pictures. So this is kind of an early example of that in a way. This is a picture I took called Window on Another World. I put it in last year's abstract and it did okay. But I just wanted to show you that it's actually a skylight from an English block at my high school. And all I kind of did was I brought it into Lightroom and I adjusted the perspective and then added a bit of contrast, and that was about it. But yeah, no, I really kind of liked the sort of the grungy look that adding that contrast gave to the picture. And this one's called Rust. This one, again, this is some barbed wire off my uncle's farm. Again, kind of grungy, gritty look. I think if I were to edit this photo again, I would probably crop it 16:9. So you've got this kind of barbed wire arch here. And then we move on to 2012 when I got a kind of ridiculous camera phone, which is this bad boy here, the Nokia 808 PureView, which, there you go, look at that camera bump there, ridiculous. 41 megapixels, pretty big number. 1/1.2 inch sensor, other big numbers. But what it actually does is it scales down those 41 megapixels to 3, 5, or 8, which modern phones do as well now. You see all these Android phones with like 48 megapixel sensors, and what they actually tend to do is they scale it down to 12 or 10, because that way you get better low light sensitivity, you get better sort of noise performance, and you get just generally cleaner colors and a cleaner image. And also, this tripod mount here, I've been looking for it for forever, and I've just not been able to find it because iPhone ones are too wide for this now. So yeah. But the best thing about having a smartphone like this is that you're always on the internet. So you've always got cat pictures. But as well as cat pictures, social media. So obviously, I've talked about Flickr already, but now kind of Instagram and Facebook were on the scene in a sort of, again, kind of nascent form. I just sort of finished college at this point. So, you know, I thought, oh, let's see what people have been taking on those as well. Obviously, I mean, I'm sure you all know, but you can follow hashtags on Instagram. So I've had a look at quite a lot of those for both my PureView and also, you know, the iPhone that I use today and the K750. And you can find a lot of inspiration by following hashtags that you like. So if you say if you have a lens that you feel like you're not using much, I find if you search for the hashtag for that lens, that you can find a lot of pictures that might inspire you. And similarly, Facebook. Now, this screenshot here, this is the Smart Clam Club. This was called the PureView Club, and this was sort of a website dedicated to this phone, which is now long gone, as you can see by the Wayback Machine here. But its Facebook group does survive, and people are still uploading to it somehow. So, oh, my headset's going to turn off. Let's not do that. There we go. So yeah, so that's that. People still uploading pictures to that every day, which is kind of amazing. It's pretty astonishing what people have managed to wring out of this, what is now an 8-year-old phone, you know. So some photos that I've taken. This is a road down to Troutbeck village in the Lake District. I entered this into the first ever LPS competition that I ever, you know, from last year, the open one. I just edited it. I just edited the contrast a little bit, and it kind of brought out the detail a bit more, and obviously cleaned up the blemishes here as well. But no, I think it came out okay, and nobody told me that they knew it was a camera phone image, so I guess it kind of passed the test there. Lake sunset. This is again Windermere. This is on a camping trip. All I did here was brought out the contrast. Now this is a giveaway for if you ever wanted to see like what was taken on a phone, what wasn't. These massively blown highlights here. You'll find that pretty much every phone has a problem with that, and some cameras these days as well. Modern phones, what they tend to do is they take 5 or 6 pictures at once, and what they will then do is they'll kind of do a HDR merge and blend the best bits of each photo. But the PureView and the K750 obviously didn't have that horsepower, so that is just the shot that you get. I should also note that none of my phones shoot in RAW either, so these are all JPEGs that I've edited as well. And just like here, you can see this sky's completely blown out. So I made it black and white because I really like the textures here. And the kind of archway, and you can see kind of leading down here as well. Now this is quite an interesting picture. Well, I know it's not much to look at, but it was just a bit of fun, bit of in-camera movement. Again, this was on the 808. So what you can do with most phones these days that have like a pro mode is you can either manually set the shutter speed or set the ISO. So what I did here was I set the ISO to 50 and then pointed it at a street light and then just waved it about. And then that's what I got. Kind of an interesting effect. So now we move on to my big cameras. I say big cameras because I fell to the YouTube kind of mentality where there's kind of this emphasis on getting more and more gear. And I'm saying that, I'm being quite honest about it because, you know, you don't need great gear to take a great photo. You can, it's your technique and things like that. And I unfortunately learned that the hard way. So at the moment, I no longer have that EOS 80D. I'm shooting this on a Canon RP instead. But just to show you, I still think about those pictures. This was taken at the Tokyo International Forum. And this is that picture of Sandra earlier, and you can see the similarities here. So you've got this silhouette in this kind of blinding white light. I wasn't thinking about this picture when I took that, but I just thought it was interesting that I've taken something so similar compositionally. There we go. And then just a couple of semi-macro shots. I took this was at the LPS macro light last year. I think I was practicing focus stacking at that point. And then this is some wire wool. What is my camera? What is my thing doing? There we go. This is some wool. Again, up at my uncle's farm, just looking close up. These are some squirrels from Rylands Park yesterday, actually. I took out the 70 at 300 and had a go at them. So again, you don't need great gear to take decent pictures. You just need enough. You know, just having a zoom lens was enough, really. You could, and if you're quiet, I guess you could use an 18-55 to take those pictures as well. And then a couple of bit of street photography. This was back in lockdown. Or semi-lockdown, as it were. The one back in May, and this chap here, I'm not sure. He seemed a bit exasperated, waiting for his bus. And then this cone upside down. I wasn't really sure what that was doing there, but I found it quite amusing. So the main takeaways from this, really, that I want to say is that gear isn't really what it's all about. You can take good pictures with any phone these days. It's more about looking for inspiration in kind of everyday things. So like, I haven't put it in the PowerPoint, unfortunately, but in the lockdown competitions, you know, the very last one, I took a picture of a pavement and it got 20 points. I couldn't believe it either. And, you know, just looking at like interesting lighting. So, I mean, especially because we're all stuck at, or a lot of us are stuck at home now. I'm not incidentally, but because of a lot of us are stuck at home now, you know, you might have, there might be some you might have, I don't know, interesting wood texture on your coffee table. You might have a really cute pet that's nice to take a picture of. You might have maybe some blinds that cast some interesting light when you angle a light at them, or when the sunlight comes through them. And another thing is, I've shown you a couple of competition images here, and it's worth entering into them, even if you don't think you're going to do very well. Because I never think I'm going to do. I never enter to win, but it's worth entering anyway, just for the feedback. And as I mentioned earlier, it's worth looking for your camera or phone of choice on Facebook or Instagram, because you'll probably find that there's a group for it, and you'll probably find that there's lots of people that take pretty amazing pictures with it as well. Like as well as obviously the Canon EOS RP users group. I'm a member of the Microphone Nerds, which use Micro Four Thirds cameras, which is another system that I use. Above all, limitation of the cameras, of your phones, whatever. Just don't fight against it. Work with it, and you'll find that you'll kind of take some artistic license. Like again, with the grainy photos and things like that. Make them part of your style, I guess, is the way to go from there. And that's kind of it from me, really.